Howdy folks, welcome back to another Bad 66 Chevelle video here. Working on my C10. The last video I made of this thing was talking about putting a big block in it, and that'll be coming soon. But for the time being, I'm going to go ahead and upgrade a few things on this old 305 for now. That way it'll already be kind of halfway set up for when I put the big block in here. But I'm getting ready to put power steering back on this truck. So I gotta change this box out and that pitman arm and this rag joint right up here. But I'm gonna put power steering back on it. That way when I go to put the big block in it, I already have my power steering, and all I have to do is just change my brackets out and put big block brackets on it. Everything else, the pump and all that's the same, it's just different brackets. As far as that I've been researching, that's what it says. But so anyway, getting ready to put power steering back on it, and the reason why I got the water pump and pretty much the whole front of the motor off is this truck, if y'all look back in the previous videos, used to be a short water pump, just like what I got in my Chevelle over here. I'll show y'all. This is a short water pump. See how it's real tight, almost touching the timing cover back here. That's what they call it, the short water pump. And this 283, it's got the power pack heads, which they're the good heads, but the problem is they don't have no accessory holes, which this car I'll never put power steering on it. It's just a regular box on it down here. But I don't ever really plan on putting on power steering on it because, for one, I doubt this car really won't get driven that much, so it's really not really worth it money wise. But this is the short water pump, and over here we got a long water pump, and you can see the difference. See how much it sits up from here to up there. A lot longer, that's why they call it the long water pump. But the reason is I'm converting this truck over to a long water pump is it's much easier to set up. It makes it a lot more easier to put power steering on it. This truck used to have double hump heads, which, like the 283, it didn't have these holes in it, and this is the holes I'm talking about. You got one here, and then you got three over here. You got one here, here, and here. That's usually for the AC side, for the AC compressor bracket. So I really won't need that side. But I got all that basically just for this hole right here. And I ended up putting this 305 in here. This is the main reason why I got it, is because it had the accessory holes in the heads. And now I'm going to put my long water pump on it and make it a whole lot easier to bolt everything up. And it's just a whole lot better pulley setup. So I already got my long water pump pulley on there. Let me show y'all the difference. This is off of this truck. This is the original pulley. This is, I believe, at least the third motor that's been in this truck, because right now it's got a 305. Before it had a 350, and that motor was not original. It was like a 73 350 short block with 66 double hump heads, which I loved those heads. And it was a shame that one of them had a burnt valve and a bloated head gasket. And just about all the seats were beat all to pieces out of it. But I might have had one good hit out of it. Depends on if the seats ain't too hammered out. But anyway, it had double hump heads, and this is the original pulley on it. Of course, it comes two pieces here. And I ain't never seen a pulley like this. This is actually a cast iron pulley here. I mean, that thing's pretty heavy. I ain't never seen a cast iron pulley like that. And of course I got the same pulley as the Chevelle, just a single groove. This is the original GM pulley. You can tell because it's got all the holes drilled in it. And if you look down here at my reproduction, hard to see a good view of it, but it doesn't have all the holes drilled all the way around it. See that? It's only got the three. And this one's got all of them. This is the original one. These are reproductions, which I have the original pulleys just like this. but I just put reproductions on it because they're a lot cleaner, and there's nothing wrong with my original pulleys, but I would have had to sandblast them and clean them up, but I just rock reproductions for now. But anyway, to get back to it, the difference is well, quite a bit of things, but the main thing is you got to get the right pulleys first. So what I did is I actually saved one of my pulleys, which is this one right here, off my blue truck that got wrecked, and I checked that pulley to make sure it wasn't hit or nothing, and of course it wasn't anyway, because the water pump stuck out further than that pulley, so it didn't hurt the pulley, but it busted the water pump. And when it did that on the blue truck, back in the older videos, if y'all look, basically the impeller, of course this one's all together, but the impeller was smack against the casting, and this actually sticks out further than the crank pulley. But long story short, it didn't hurt the crank pulley, so I'm reusing that. I done checked it and rolled it and made sure it wasn't messed up or nothing, and it didn't hurt nothing on that. So that's a long water pump pulley. Here's the short water pump. Hold it side by side here. Now you can see the difference. That's basically the difference. If you were to take this one, put against that Harmonic bouncer, it's not a whole lot of difference. That long water pump pulley sticks out just a little bit, but it's not even that much difference. So that pulley is just about in the same spot as the old one. It sticks out maybe 1/4 of an inch at the most. That's about it, and that ain't nothing. And you can see I got plenty of clearance down there. Plenty of clearance. So that's one difference. I'm not going to use this pulley setup no more. Plus, that's a lot of extra weight. That'll take off a little bit of weight there. And then I went ahead and I had a double groove long water pump pulley for the water pump, but I decided not to use that because that, I believe, is just for the AC stuff, and this truck is never going to have AC, at least as long as I have it. I don't plan on putting it back on, so I went for a single groove pulley, because for now, and really all I'm going to run is the crank will run the water pump and the alternator for now. And you won't, this being a single groove pulley will still work just fine, because your power steering doesn't run off this pulley anyway. This just runs your alternator, because you got the belt from the crank, and then goes around the water pump and then to the alternator. Because the other setup I'm doing too is, originally this truck had the alternator right here. This is the old externally regulated alternator on the driver's side. Of course, you can see where the exhaust manifold still has the bolt holes for it, that are, this little piece is cast into it. And this exhaust manifold is a pain to find, because they don't make them no more. They make all kinds of reproductions of these, but they don't make them to where it has this piece cast into it for the alternator and it's turned back 45 degrees, because they make one that's got this with the piece cast into it for the alternator. But the problem is, it's the downpipes, where they, instead of being a 45 degree angle like this one is, it's straight down, and then it makes it hard for the clearance with the frame and everything. But I've looked and looked and looked, and they just don't repop them. The only ones I've seen is they got the 45 degree angle like that for the downpipe, but the piece for the alternator is not cast in, and it makes it difficult to get the right pulley set up and everything. But this is a good original one. You can see it's actually came off eBay. Somebody had took that salvage yard marker stuff and wrote on it. It says NOS GM 65 to 70 exhaust manifold. But anyway, that's a different exhaust manifold. I'm going to actually change this one out, put the exact same thing on, but without this cast on to it. Because when I got to think about it, when I put the power steering pump, that's going to sit about right in here, and it may hit this. And I don't want to mess up this exhaust manifold, because that's a nicer original exhaust manifold there, and I'm just going to pull it off and buy a reproduction that's still got this 45 but doesn't have this on, because they make them like that. They just don't make them with the 45 plus that cast on. So I'm going to switch this out that way it'll eliminate that, and it'll make it a little bit cleaner looking. And then this side's already a reproduction. They're not too expensive. I think they're only 45, 50 bucks a piece, but that one's got the 45 on it. It's just like that for the driver's side, except it doesn't have the piece cast on it. Of course, that's the passenger side, but really hard to find. But anyway, one issue I'm going to have, which really ain't a big deal, because it ain't nothing to fix, but the alternator used to be right here on the driver's side, and it's now going to be on the passenger side, because it's going to get upgraded and be the newer style setup. So it's actually going to be moved to this side, and so what I'm going to do is, for now, I'm going to just take and go back through these wires here, because it's just the old 3-wire alternator, and come back to the box here, and I'll probably take and cut these wires and run new ones, and then I'll come up through here, up over my radiator, and then maybe run them over to it, maybe come underneath my battery or something and run them over to it. Or I thought about doing it in a little bit nicer way and just take it and run it back from this box here, and then go up through my inner fender, and then go on this little channel here, and keep going like where the distributor is, and then come down and then go over to it. That might be a little bit better setup I might do, but I'm going to have to lengthen these wires because they're not going to be long enough, and they're so brittle anyway. I mean, you barely look at them and they crack all to pieces. That's one thing this truck needs really, really bad, is it needs a wire harness, because these wires on this truck, I mean, you can all tell. I mean, it's been hacked up and everything else, and you got wires going to stuff, don't even know what it goes to. But I'm going to move this on over, and just to show y'all a little example here, I was kind of worried about the piece where it bolts up between the head and that bracket. This piece that's cast right here, where your bottom belt goes, between the external alternator and the internal, because I'm going to convert this over to internal here soon, because I'm not keeping this box or any of that stuff, because I want to go to a little higher amp alternator and make it a little bit better so my headlights don't get dim, and just help it run a lot better and everything. But these are the same width, just about, as the internal one, so don't worry about that. If you got an old external alternator, ain't a big deal. These are about the exact same width, so it'll bolt right in. And the good thing about it is I can take this external alternator and just temporarily put it on the passenger side, but it'll still be external. And for now, so I'm going to go to either 80 or 100 amp alternator, and this is only, I think, a 55 or 63. It's not a lot, especially if you ever put a radio in here. It's just, it ain't enough to keep up with it and all that. So that's going to get upgraded and moved over to the passenger side. And then eventually here soon I'm going to do away with this box and go to a 10 SI alternator. And there you don't even have to change really any of your wiring. You just go down here, these two outer wires, you jump this outer wire with this outer wire and the two inner wires with each other. So you jump the outsides together and the two insides together. And then you just take your box out, and then you're good to go on that. And then on your alternator, you always have your power wire, that's the same, and these two wires up here are the exact same. Just change this plastic in. Don't even have to cut your wires or nothing. Just take a little pick, pull these wires out, swap this out with the internal plastic piece, and you're good to go. This wiring on this truck, all that wiring is going to get replaced. Not keeping any of that, because all that's going to go in the trash, because all that is just a mess. That's why I'm having a lot of issues trying to start this truck. Is I got a short somewhere and I have to bypass the ignition switch now, and I'm gonna order a whole new wire harness for the engine here and get that all straightened out, and we're making a whole lot better. Get rid of all that junk wire in there. Now everything from the tail lights all the way up to basically the cab here has been replaced. All this wire is new, so there's no issues here. So all this has been replaced. It's just basically underneath the hood, and I got to order that wire harness that plugs up right here, which is really nice because you can order these, and all you got to do is take that bolt out, and then you can order them with the HEI setup and an internal alternator setup, which is what this truck is going to get, and it'll bolt right up. You don't have to cut nothing or anything. And then once I get my engine wire harness, because that's number one for sure, that I'm going to be getting next, then I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do about underneath the dash. I would like to eventually do away with these old glass fuses, because to me, they're out of date, and I plan on keeping this truck for a pretty long time, and I'd like to do away with them and get the more modern fuses, because that's what I'm doing in my Chevelle. I am not keeping them glass fuses. I'm going to upgrade. I already actually bought a brand new wire harness for this car that's, as soon as I get all the bodywork straight on it, I'm going to put that in here, because I'm not going to keep all them glass fuses. Do away with it and get the more modern ones, a whole lot nicer setup, and plus I plan on keeping it. Now, if I want to keep it original, I'd keep the glass ones, but I'd like to do away with this eventually and upgrade it. But and something else I want to ask y'all out here, I'm thinking serious of doing it, is once I get this truck straightened out, get my power steering knob back on it, I'm going to start putting a little money back, put my big block in here, because I want to put that 402 in here. I already ordered a couple things for it. I got valve covers for it, and one of the things I was worried about is I got the tall valve covers, but I was worried about when I put the big block in here if it's going to hit my booster or not, because it's not a whole lot of clearance right there. So I ordered the they call them the recess valve covers, because they're kind of curved down the way they're stamped, so hopefully it'll clear it better. But hopefully when I put it all in and everything, it'll clear good, because if it clears good, I'd rather have the regular tall valve covers. But hopefully they'll all fit, because I want to put that 402 in here with the tall valve covers, and hopefully there's enough clearance there. But getting ready to get a new hub for this thing. That's on order. So I got a lot of stuff going on for this thing, because my hub, the race spun in the hub there, and pretty much ruined this hub on this side. And I got a feeling it did the same thing on the passenger side, and it's been like it for a long time. Got lucky though, it didn't mess up my spindle, so that's really good. But I got a new hub on the way, and I looked all over the place and trying to find a good original one, and I ended up having to get one off eBay, and it was just for one hub was $110. I think that's a little too much, but the guy that had it put new, looked like he put new races and all in it. At least that's what the ad said, and because of new bearings. So well, I don't know. It is what it is on that. Kind of got to have it, because I got to get this truck going here. But that's where we're at, trying to get it going, and going to the long water pump setup. So that main reason is it just makes it a lot more convenient and easier to bolt the power steering pump up. And I just can't believe how much them Saginaw power steering pumps have went up. But make sure when you get your long water pump, it's got this little piece cast on it, because you got to have that. Some of them have them, some of them don't. I made sure that one has it. You got to have that for your power steering. Otherwise, it throws everything off. I didn't realize some long water pumps had and some didn't. But I got all my wire in here. This is 10 gauge wire. So I got plenty of wire here. It's supposed to be 25 foot, so that's way more than enough. And I'll have extra for other projects. But I bought this for my alternator just temporarily. So that way I can move the old external one to the passenger side, and then lengthen the wires for now. And then later on we'll get the good internal one and order a whole new wire harness for under the hood and clean everything up a lot better and just straighten it up. But my big plan for this, after I get my big block in it, and I'm thinking serious about doing it, but it'd be kind of a big job, but I'd like to take this truck and convert it over to 4-wheel drive. And I don't know if it's anybody out there that's ever bought like a square body frame, like the 73 to, I believe, 87. That's the route I'm thinking about going. But on the other hand, I'd like to keep this original frame and just swap all the front suspension out. But I really would love to make this a 4-wheel drive truck. especially with the big block and have a 402 and a 4-wheel drive. That'd be pretty cool. But I think it'll probably be better off just to go to a whole different frame setup, because I know the cross member, all that's different. Of course, the front suspension, all that's entirely different. But main thing too is because of these trailering arms here, and that's just gonna make it even harder. Because I don't like these trailering arms. I don't really care for the coil springs. I like the old leaf springs. They're a whole lot better. Like what's on my Ford over there. It's got the old leaf springs on it. I like that setup way better. But I think my best bet, if I really want to go to 4-wheel drive, is get like a square body frame, and then I'll just find one that's 4-wheel drive, and then just take this bed and this whole cab and everything and just transfer it over to it. And then as far as the cab mounts and all that goes, really I could just be real careful with it and take a cutoff wheel and cut these cab mounts off this truck. Well, we wouldn't even have to cut them off, but just grind these rivets out, take those off, and then transfer them over to a square body frame. But as long as the frame is the same width, those could be made. Have to make for the cab and the bed and front clip and all that. But that'd be a cool setup. I'd love to make this thing 4-wheel drive. Now, as far as transfer cases and all that stuff, I don't know much about all of them. I don't know what would be best for that, but I'd like to do that. And then plus, if I put a square body frame underneath up, not only would I get the disc brakes for the front, which would be a huge upgrade, but I would get the leaf springs on the back like I want. And I'd really like to find a 3/4 ton 4-wheel drive square body frame put underneath this thing, because I'd like to make it into a 3/4 ton. But it doesn't have to be, though. I mean, old half ton be the same. It's basically whatever y'all think is easier. So feel free to leave a comment below. See what y'all I'd like to see what y'all's feedback is on that. But I'd love to make this truck 4-wheel drive. I mean, if this truck was fixed up, it'd be a pretty truck. I just wish the body wasn't so rough, but I'd like to make it a 4-wheel drive. But thinking about that, I already got my big block for it, and I want to get that all cleaned up and put that in, and plus have my power steering back on it. And because nothing about this truck is original. I mean, that's like the third motor that's in it, because Ford had a 350, and then I put this motor in here. And then by the time I put the 402 in it, that'll be the fourth motor that's been in it. Because I figured counting the original, and then counting the 350 that was in it when I bought it, that was blowed up. And then of course this 305, that would make it 3. And by the time I put the 402, that'd make it the fourth motor. But I know this truck was originally a V8, and it probably had a 307 or a 350. It's hard to tell. I would say a 307. Of course, it's always been a turbo 350. It's always been an AC truck too. This is actually a pretty nice truck when it was new. It had factory AC and power steering originally. It'll get the power steering back on it, but it's not getting AC. But anyway, I don't want to make this video any longer than what it is. That's what I'm working on now. I cleaned my water pump and all, and paint it all up, and paint my pulleys. Getting ready to bolt all this back up. I got this single groove pulley from the junkyard. Brand new water pump. Well, that's going to go back on it. I'll make a follow-up video of it. Thank y'all for watching it. Leave me a comment below. See what y'all think about converting over to 4-wheel drive, and if it'd be better just to keep the original frame and just